5 pints. Paradise Square. Streets here are always lively of an evening.
Who are the gangs around now?
We got the Daybreak Boys and the Swamp Angels. They work the river looting ships. The Frog Hollow Shanghai sailors down around the bloody angle. Shirt Tails was rough for a while, but they become a bunch of jack-rolling dandies, lolling around Murderer's Alley looking like Chinamen. Hellcat Maggie, she tried to open her own grog shop, but she drunk up all her own liquor and got thrown out on the street.
Beautiful.
Now she's on the lay for anything. There's a plug uglies, they're from somewhere deep in the old country. Got their own language, no one understands what they're saying. They love to fight the cops. And the night walkers, the rag pickers row. They work on their backs and kill with their hands. They're so scurvy under the plug uglies to talk to them. But who knows what they're saying.
Welcome to the Perfect Movie Podcast, the podcast where we answer the question, is this a perfect movie? I'm Michael.
I'm Kalen.
And today, we're continuing Marty May, a month where we review movies from a guy named Marty. Martin Scorsese, you dumb nuts. Have you been listening? This is our 4th episode.
I thought you were going to tell me more Martins.
I was trying
Martys.
to, and then I blanked, and I just decided left turn. Left
I know
turn.
I have a few, but I can't.
I didn't
think of
have
it.
any prepared because I've already burned Martin
Went
Lawrence.
through a lot of Martys.
Martin Luther King Jr., Martin Short, Martin Shkreli, the AIDS medication price hiker,
Martin McDonough.
Martin McDonough, the director of In Bruges, and the Banshees of Inisherin.
Speaking of the Banshees of Inisherin, there's an actor from the Banshees of Inisherin in the movie we're going to watch today.
Brendan Gleeson is in the film Gangs of New York, playing an Irishman. Hey, Kaylin, have you ever seen The Irishman before?
The Irishman? Is that
I'm
the
saying
movie?
the wrong Martin Scorsese movie.
Are you talking about the movie with a bunch of senile old men?
Yeah. But they made their face computer make them look like they're more younger.
They couldn't remove the depends, though.
Do you remember when Robert De Niro pretends to beat someone up, but he's using his 70-year-old man body?
It's hilarious.
It's really funny, but that's not the movie we watched. We watched Gangs of New York, starring Brendan Gleeson. Hey, Kaylin, had you watched Gangs of New York before today? Before this episode? Before preparing for this episode today with this movie that we're going to discuss?
I watched it a long time ago.
Oh.
And then I forgot all about it. I don't think I ever finished it. It's a long fucking movie, my guy. This is it's longer than Goodfellas.
It's almost 3 hours. It's like 2:50, 2:45.
Yeah. I have mixed feelings about Gangs of New York. I thought Brendan Gleeson was fantastic, but I thought Leonardo DiCaprio was absolute shite.
Okay, so I think two things. Correct. Appreciate. I think the context I wanted to give to this movie is this is what, a 2002 release? We are in prime Leo mania.
Absolutely.
I cannot remember. Now, this might just be my age, and there's certainly, like, people have gone crazy about celebrities for forever.
Yeah.
But as far as, like, the mainstream Hollywood actor being the heartthrob, constant front page star,
Yeah.
this might have been the peak of it with Leo DiCaprio post-Titanic.
Well, now you have Timothée Chalamet.
It's true, but I feel like our society is so splintered comparative to, like, the late 90s, 2000s, where it's like, if
Hollywood is a big fucking deal.
you were in the biggest movie ever, Titanic, ladies loved it.
Yeah.
Ladies can have continued to love you, and you are the box office ticket for so many things
Yeah.
in this period.
He definitely, like, kicked off that heartthrob thing. Because then after that, you get like the Twilight series, and you got Edward. I was going to say Edward Norton, but that's not right.
Robert Pattinson?
Robert Pattinson. Edward is the name of the vampire.
Yeah, as Edward Cullen.
Robert Pattinson, Taylor Lautner.
Robert Pattinson as Edward Norton, and he pulls off the Ed Norton mask like it's Mission Impossible. You thought I was method acting, but I'm Robert Pattinson.
But I'm just on meth.
No, it was going to be like the Robert Downey Jr., like, I'm the motherfucker that's playing the motherfucker. Like, Robert Pattinson didn't think acting was hard enough, so he method acted as Ed Norton to get a role, to get cast in a movie, to show up to pretend to be Ed Norton
It's like
as
Star
another
Wars.
character in a movie.
You know who wanted to be Leonardo DiCaprio? Hayden Christensen. But he didn't have the acting chops.
And, well, if you cast Leonardo DiCaprio, okay, let's body swap them and forget about the age gap. You put Hayden Christensen in Titanic, and you put Leonardo DiCaprio as Anakin Skywalker.
He tried out for it, too.
I believe it. That rat tail would not have worked for Leo's little boxy head.
He's also got, it's very, like, round. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't have worked.
He looked like Charlie Brown.
Yeah. Hayden Christensen, he's got the look. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but not the chops.
That's the one thing. Okay, sorry, just a couple of straight guys talking about Leonardo DiCaprio's looks, but he was the biggest heartthrob ever, and I've always been like, and maybe that's what his appeal was, because I could kind of get being like the off-brand appeal, the like, I am not the prettiest thing ever, but I have this alternative appeal. But his whole deal, he's just a little scruffy, and he's a little blockheaded. You know, it's not like strong jawline, you know, like.
He hasn't aged well either.
He's kind of looked the same to me.
Okay, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, the head shape hasn't changed, which is the most striking thing about him.
He's got the body of a 12-year-old.
Look, all I know is he's been a star for a long time. I think this was his peak stardom, and I don't know if he's fully committed to this role at this time. And I don't know. I've dogged on Leo a bit. And I think I like older Leo more, but this version of Leo, I'm gonna say, my Letterboxd review is basically like 3 hours of Daniel Day-Lewis and other character actor that guys just acting circles around Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah,
we got Brendan Gleeson, we got Daniel Day-Lewis, we have Liam Neeson. Fuck, can I get the movie where Liam Neeson and Daniel Day-Lewis are at odds with each other for the whole movie?
Yeah, that's what would have been better.
Could I have gotten that?
He dies in the first fucking scene,
which is an awesome scene.
Yeah,
I liked it a lot. It's stupid, but I liked it a lot.
It was so stupid.
It was so stupid, but I liked it a lot. It's like I went along with. There's a lot of this movie that's like ridiculous, and I went along with some of it. And that first scene being like the Battle of Mordor in some like New York Square, I was like, well, I don't know what this is, but I'm having fun.
The part in that scene that cracked me up the most, and that's where it lost me, was when the girl had these like little claws, weapons, and she like was pouncing on people. She had like cat-like ability, agility.
You know what's funny though? Even though that is a little X-Men 3, The Last Stand.
Yeah,
I'm the Juggernaut, bitch.
The Juggernaut, bitch.
I watched a couple videos about this movie just because I was curious where the real history and this movie aligned. And evidently that's based on a real woman who sharpened her teeth into fangs and would attack people.
That is insanity.
She probably didn't do that. She was probably not part of some like Lord of the Rings style war in the town square. But I feel like that scene kind of let you know what the stakes are and what the vibe is. That's a real vibe check. You're either on board or you're not. And so this goes a little 300 Watchmen.
Yeah. This is the most un-Scorsese-like movie that he's made. Would you say that? Because this film feels so much more Spielberg than Scorsese, or like just a different Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson. This seems like something that would be made by Peter Jackson. Spielberg was the wrong person to compare this with. But
I think there's a couple things at play. This feels like a movie where Martin Scorsese was like, damn it, if you will not give me this Oscar, check this out. I'm going to make a period piece, and I'm going to cast Daniel Day-Lewis. Like, checkmate. Yeah. Like, game over. I'm going to get my Best Director Oscar right now.
Yeah.
And you're right. Maybe he's not the best choice. I still get this feeling, and I did from this first scene, which you didn't like, that I'm like in the hands of a master filmmaker. But then there's also other moments, mainly based around the teeny bopper romance of Leo DiCaprio.
Yeah,
and
it
Cameron
felt very
Diaz.
studio interference, like, you know.
And I don't know if that's necessarily it, or him just wanting to lean into this thing that he thinks is popular.
Yeah,
but it is not great.
So let's think of the time period too, because this is probably key. 2002. What's the biggest movie of that period in 2002?
So 01 is the first Lord of the Rings.
Yes. 02, Two Towers.
Two Towers.
So right off the bat, some of the biggest movies of all time. That's what he has to compete with. I don't know what time of year these both came out. I think December 20th, 2002. And I believe, didn't Lord of the Rings come out around Christmas too?
Certainly.
I want to say it did.
Or isn't Attack of the Clones coming out around Christmas?
I believe so. Star Wars always used to come out around Christmas.
Because 99 is Phantom Menace, so I think it's 3 years later is Attack of the Clones.
Two Towers could have been summer. But, yeah, just massive movies, war epics. And so I feel like Scorsese was kind of leaning into that a little bit.
Is Gladiator around this time? Is that around like 2000?
Either 2003 or around that. 2001? No. Yeah, 2002, 2003, I believe.
Something like that.
Yeah. So you got these big period piece epics, and I feel like Scorsese was trying to dip his toes into that water. Yeah, this movie didn't really do it for me. I have a lot of issues with it. A lot of fucking issues. But I think we can probably jump right into it. Let's move on to the performance test.
Hold on. It's a drip check. Gladiators in 2000, by the way.
Oh,
so
okay.
I feel like there's a lot of like this. You're right. This epic scale is in right now. Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Gladiator, all these massive movies, even fucking Titanic.
Troy.
It's epic scale, and romance is a big part of that too. Drip check.
Fit check. Jacket LL Bean. Shirt Sonoma. Jeans Lee. Kicks. Skechers. Watch Timex. Apple. Grocery store. Peace and love.
First off, Priest Liam Neeson versus the Blue Bandana Boys.
He's dripped out. Yeah.
What? When I saw and he's got basically every fit Daniel Day-Lewis has on this entire time is just
it's dripped out.
It's just like Murder Willy Wonka, just so sick. The long tail coats, the stovepipe hats, the stripy pants,
the mustaches,
the mustaches.
So let's talk about the setting real quick. Because to kind of set this up for our viewers who have not seen Gangs of New York, this is set in the 1840s?
1860s, because Civil War is running along this.
Right.
Except for the opening scene, which is 1840s.
Yes. And so it cuts 20 years later. You're in the 1860s. This is post-industrial revolution. There's everybody is in poverty, pretty much. At least in this specific part of New York, which is where all this like immigration is happening. A lot of people are coming to America it's the land of opportunity, and people are trying to make their way. There's gangs everywhere, and these are not your normal South Central LA.
It's like the Bowery Boys.
The Butches, the he-she's. That one cracked me up. But everybody's wearing matching like clothing, and they have like the striped socks.
It looks like a multiplayer map from that Assassin's Creed that was multiplayer, where there's just these matching people.
Yes. Well, speaking of Assassin's Creed, have you ever played Assassin's Creed Syndicate?
Yeah.
It's basically Gangs of New York, but set with Assassin's Creed set in Victorian era London. So if you like that kind of stuff, I think the game is pretty cool. But yeah, drip checks. People are dripped out in this movie. People are dripping with blood. I think that's part of the fashion. Dirt, fecal matter.
All right, this is every gang listed. Wait.
You found a list.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
This is in the book, so maybe some of these didn't make it to the movie. The Batavia Street Gang, the Baxter Street Dudes, the Bow Brothers, the Bowery Boys, Cat Barn Gang, Charlton Street Gang, Corcoran's Roosters, Daybreak.
Sounds like a baseball team.
Sounds like a minor league baseball team. The Daybreak Boys. That sounds like a vampire movie.
The Daybreakers, yeah. I think that is a movie.
Eastman Gang. Not that weird. Dutch Mob. Sounds normal.
That sounds the most gangsta out of everybody.
5 Points Gang. Gas House Gang.
Hey.
Gang. Gopher Gang.
Gang.
Minnesota. Grady Gang.
Minnesota Grady Gang.
Hell's Kitchen Gang.
Gang.
Hook Gang. Hudson Dusters.
Are the Crips or the Bloods on there?
Humpty Jackson Gang. Italian Dave Gang. The Jimmy Curley Gang. Lenox Avenue Gang. Leslie Gang. Little Augies. The Mandelbaum Gang.
Oh my God.
All right, I'm at M and this might go to Z, so I'm done.
That's a whole lot of gang shit.
The point is the Patsy Convoy Gang.
Oh my God.
Slaughterhouse Gang. All right, that's just
Slaughter Gang.
that's just literally Eminem's gang.
It's 21st Savage.
So this is 1860s gangs. They wear matching clothes.
They fucking have medieval weaponry.
And our main characters are Billy the Butcher. Our main characters are Billy the Butcher, played by Daniel Day-Lewis, and Amsterdam, in air quotes, as played by Leonardo DiCaprio. And that's about it. Billy the Butcher murders Leo DiCaprio's dad, and he's on a revenge quest, I guess.
Yeah, kinda. Yeah, he ends up forming a relationship with Daniel Day-Lewis's character. He's kind of conflicted, but then he still wants his get back. Performance test.
It was the performance of a lifetime.
Obviously, we talked about Daniel Day-Lewis. He's great fucking actor in everything I've ever seen him in. Probably his most notable performance, There Will Be Blood. Fantastic movie. I'm surprised we haven't done that film yet. I'm sure.
I drink your milkshake.
I drink it up.
It's funny because Daniel Plainview and Billy the Butcher, two apples off the same tree.
Oh, for sure.
Really, two men that have found a power vacuum in an expanding United States, and they say, "This is where I eat.
This is my milkshake."
This is my milkshake."
Then we have Leonardo DiCaprio. And what do you think of Leo's performance?
Okay, so first off, Liam Neeson is his father, and then he comes in with that weak-ass Irish accent. I'm going to let the hate flow through a lot of this. We might need to skip that segment later on, but my main issue, I don't hate Leo all the time, but, like, the accent just reeks of, like, I didn't even try.
Yeah. I also just don't think he does accents very well. He's never really been able to do accents well. Departed is another terrible accent by Leonardo DiCaprio.
His only decent accent is his southern accent in
Django and in Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah, so he's just, his accent's just in and out. By the end, I think it just is gone. By the end of the movie, I don't think he has an accent anymore. But at the start, he has just this weak Irish accent. And just 5 movie minutes before, we heard Liam Neeson speaking in his mother tongue as his father, and I'm just not buying it instantly.
No.
I am so mad we didn't get the Liam Neeson and Daniel Day movie. This is all a money thing, I'm sure, because this is a script that Scorsese couldn't get off the ground, and I bet a lot of the reason this movie ended up being made and bankrolled it definitely cost a good amount of money. This is an expansive, kind of epic length and epic in scope movie.
Absolutely.
And man, Leo DiCaprio just brings his like C game to this. Like, he's not dead awful in every moment.
No.
But the only thing he kind of leans on is when he's really, like, when the two gangs are marching past each other towards the end of the movie, and he has this biggest scowl on. I'm like, Leo's acting hard right now. Like, he's doing some real acting. And also some of that is maybe the writing, which is age appropriate in the fact that this toxic romance that we're seeing is just awful.
Oh yeah,
like really awful. Like Leo DiCaprio has one date with this woman played by Cameron Diaz, who's a pickpocket, and he's had a little bit of a relationship with before.
She's a scallywag.
And just because they almost do the deed once, need to beat her every time he like notices a man in her orbit. And I'm like, what? And then we're supposed to end this movie with them leaving together like this is a good thing.
No, she's in a bad spot.
I mean, it is also the 1860s. I'm sure that might
that was rampant.
That might even be, a more accurate portrayal than if they had a healthy relationship.
For sure.
Of the dynamics of that time. But it is not something like you can pick one.
Yeah.
You can go the Titanic route and have a tragic romance between two characters that have chemistry, but it'll never work out. Or you can do the I'm beating up Cameron Diaz and I'm a bad boy route, but he can't have the happy ending on this other route because he's not a good person.
Well, I was going to say he should have died at the end of this.
Yeah, the big smoky fight.
Yeah, he should have bit it, and it would have been a better ending.
1000%, I agree. But Leo DiCaprio just bringing his C game. But can we respect some of the people that did it? We already talked about Daniel Day-Lewis, but John C. Reilly's in here as the sort of crooked cop that makes it through most of this movie. Great. Like, there's just so many that guy, like, character actors that are excellent in this movie. I mean, shout out to Liam Neeson, Brendan Gleeson. I do love the scene. And that's the thing about this movie is even for the flaws and where I feel like this movie wastes like a whole hour on something I just don't can care about.
Yeah.
Man, the scene where Brendan Gleeson and Daniel Day-Lewis face off at the very end where...
Citizens of the 5 Points! Mr. Bill Cutting is attempting to draw me into an argument that would no doubt end in bloodshed and the compromising of my office. What do you think? Should I engage and silence this relic of the ancient law? Or shall I be your chosen voice in the New Testament, in the New World? There you are, Bill. The people have spoken. The very notion of violent reprisal benumbs them. Come on up. Let's see if we can resolve our grievances the democratic way.
That, my friends, is the minority vote. Now you tasted my mutton. How do you like it, huh? Look, I want you to see this. This is you, right here. Notch 45, you Irish bog bastard. Why don't you burn him, see if his ashes turn green?
There's a lot going on in this movie. It's an epic length, but basically, Brendan Gleeson becomes a politician who is in the way of Daniel Day-Lewis's character. And Brendan Gleeson is like, look, people, this man is trying to get me into a fight that will end in bloodshed. Is this what we want, or do we want to rule through democracy?
Yeah.
And everybody just kind of pauses, and Brendan Gleeson doesn't want the smoke. He doesn't want to fight this guy. So he's like, the people have spoken. They don't want to deal with this. Let's talk together. And then Daniel Day just hatchets him in the back and then just addresses the camera. There's nobody in the house.
No, he's just talking his fourth wall break. Almost.
He's just talking directly to the camera like, you want some more of this? Cross me again. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
There's so many like scene stealing and scenery chewing moments. Are we in the performance test?
Yes.
Okay. From Daniel Day-Lewis, but from everyone. I mean, Daniel Day is just... While I want to spend as much time praising him as I do shitting on Leo DiCaprio. And he's just like the only reason to watch this movie.
Oh, for sure.
Really.
Yeah.
There's other great actors in this, and they all bring the game, but like Daniel Day-Lewis is like...
He's just got this bravado on screen.
Yeah.
Where it's just hard to take your eyes off of him.
Leo's the movie star, but he is the capital A actor.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of theatrical things to this, because that's not the only time he addresses the audience basically directly. I think there's at least one other moment where he's just staring into the screen.
The knife throwing moment or scene or something when he's throwing knives at
I think it's
Cameron Diaz?
I think it's earlier in the movie, although I love that scene too. But I think there's an earlier in the movie scene where he's just staring at the audience like.
I think my favorite scene is the scene where Leo thwarts the assassination attempt.
Yeah.
I love that scene. I found it hilarious that the Abe Lincoln character is just like hanging in the background. He's just like kind of waving, flailing his arms around, and like it's just chaos. I think that's a great way to like kind of describe this film. It's just absolute chaos all the fucking time. And it's just like, how did people get shit done back then? It was just like beyond me.
No, they're putting on a plane. Everybody's just loaded with a grocery store's worth of vegetables to throw at them.
Just chucking shit. You never know when somebody's going to get fucking murdered. That's another thing. It's just like there's just rampant killing in this movie. Nobody really, there's no like qualm about or like care about the human life, you know?
Yeah, and one of the side tangents of this movie is how like in this early America there is no law because it's like even the firefighters are fighting over their jurisdiction.
Yeah, that was hilarious, those dudes.
So it's like, oh, we paid off the county police but not the like state police.
Yeah.
Or it's not even that laid out, but it's like we paid these police but we didn't pay these police because these different factions of police are trying to police us, and that's why these gangs are in control of so much, because they have kind of popped up in the power vacuum and the disorganization of this era of America. And it's just it's really chaotic. It's so chaotic.
Yeah.
There's the
or no, sorry, one more scene. The scene of the execution of remember the politician, or it was like the mayor or somebody was like, I need to execute 4 people today.
Oh yeah.
And as the prisoners are walking up to the gallows, one of the prisoners like knows Daniel Day-Lewis's character, and they like have a conversation. And Daniel Day-Lewis like sees a pendant that the guy's wearing. He's like, "I'll give you that. Give me that pendant. I'll give you $1." And the guy's like, "It's my ma's. It's my mater's or whatever." And then he takes it.
You stand here convicted veringly of lewdness, jack-rolling, sneak thievery, clol hydrating, sodomy, strangulation, and enthusiastic corruption of the public good.
Chin up. Handsome bunch of gallows fruit. There's my old friend. How are you feeling, Arthur?
I'm okay, you know.
Oh, say hello to Amsterdam. Nearly fishhook McGloin the other day.
Nearly.
See you dressed for the occasion, Arthur?
You know me, Bill. I always like to look me best, you know.
That's the spirit. It's a nice locket. I'll give you $1 for it.
It's me mother's.
$1.50.
Done.
We'll miss you, Arthur. See you in the hot country, Seamus.
I thought it was a good scene.
It's a good one. No, there's a lot of good scenes in this movie. That's why I'm like, Martin Scorsese's still a great director. There's a lot of good stuff. Daniel Day-Lewis can chew scenery next to anyone. There's the scene where Leo DiCaprio gets in a fight with a guy named McGloin, which is good in its own right, but also Daniel Day saying to someone else, "Say hello to Amsterdam, nearly fish took McGloin the other day."
The fighting stances back in the day were crazy.
100%. Some wild fisticuffs. Fighting like a fucking Popeye cartoon. The dialect of this movie, it doesn't
awesome.
stoop down to like say we're modernizing everything. So you
Stick to English accents.
No,
Yeah.
it is weird accents and weird language. Like, the way they get into a fight is not the way anybody in the modern English language would ever get into a fight.
What was it like Leo said to the guy who was like, if you called me a skeever, then we'd have a problem.
I think it was like, then we have business.
Then we have business. So I think we have business. And then they just like look at each other for a second, and then they rip off their coats and like they're
Then we do
squaring
have
up.
business. There's a later point in this movie where the two gangs. So Leo DiCaprio, he starts off as an underling to Daniel Day-Lewis when he returns, and he's trying to get close to him. But he never really makes a serious assassination attempt
Until later on in the film.
But eventually they are in two separate gangs, kind of.
Yeah.
And then the gangs come together and they have like a treaty where they decide what weapons they're going to use against each other. And they're just like, clubs, yes. Pistols? No.
One thing about Leo's character too, he's not like an honorable person.
No.
In the slightest. Like you're kind of like, this kid is like a backstabbing, kind of like he's cowardly. I don't know. And everything that Daniel Day-Lewis says about his character is like it's true.
When he's trying to like break him down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't really feel bad for you in this moment, you know, because you kind of went about this the wrong way. You had plenty of an opportunity to whack this guy if you really wanted to, but I don't know. There was some cowardice there for sure.
I mean, it's just a very, very old story. Son, questing for vengeance upon the death of a parent
Well, it's
or
like
parents.
it's like it reminds me of the Northman.
Yeah,
almost.
I will avenge you, father. I will
avenge you, mater.
Yeah. And like, he just kind of loses the plot for a while.
Yeah.
So more movie can happen.
Well, he's thinking with his penis. That's why.
And Cameron Diaz, I will say, stunning in this movie. She's not a part of this, but there's also a lot of this movie that is just the costuming cracks me up. How specifically the women are topless, because it's always like the shirt is just
ripped
barely exposed enough. And all the like, there's lots of scenes where like men are around a bunch of prostitutes, but it's like, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's age appropriate. I mean, era appropriate, but
those women are they're working.
They are.
They're into it.
Can you imagine how much everybody stank?
Oh my god, I couldn't
time?
imagine what that room smelled like at that time.
Terrible.
Yeah.
And then this movie ends in a race riot.
Is that based on real historical event?
I think it is, but I was also very confused about what.
It was about the draft.
No, I know, but I heard draft, like, anti-draft stuff, and then it was like, they're killing all the black people. And I was like, what?
Well, I think it's because they didn't want to go to war for them.
I guess that makes sense.
And yeah, that was kind of those are like hard scenes. Like, it was like, Jesus, like, they were really rioting. Like, my God.
We also haven't added that Billy the Butcher, Daniel Day-Lewis's character, is a racist against everyone. He hates the Irish.
He calls Irish the N-word.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, Jesus. Yeah, he hates everybody that's not a Native American, as he would say.
Which is funny because they're all like maybe second generation Americans.
Yeah, yeah.
Second
Literally,
or third. Like, there's hardly any other way. There's a lot of historical stuff in this that I'm not as familiar with that time. But yeah, the race riots and a lot of that. Like, it was the first American draft, so all of a sudden it's like the government, which I think at this time maybe still has less sway and power than it certainly would now.
For sure.
It's like, you need to go fight in this war or pay $300, which is basically like the rich boys exemption.
That's a fortune. Yeah.
So there's a lot of anger about that throughout this movie, interspersed on this movie. And there's a lot of just like politics, and it's a movie about gangs, and a lot of it is about Billy the Butcher, a just absolute psychopath character at its core, but there's also a lot of kind of like many Scorsese movies, stopovers into weird tangents about electoral politics and stuff in the ballot box and getting Brendan Gleeson elected to serve as mayor in this time and how those were bought.
Well, even Daniel Day-Lewis's character, you kind of get a glimpse into why he is the way he is too. You know what I mean? And you kind of feel almost sympathetic for him as well, because it's a man trying to find his honor, and he does that through fear. And he literally says that. There's a great scene with him and Leo where he's just kind of watching Leo sleep, and Leo wakes up, and then he kind of just goes on the spiel about, how he had a great defeat, and he rose back up, and he did that by inflicting fear on others and stuff, and basically telling Leo like he's like a son.
How old are you, Amsterdam?
Not too sure. Never did figure it.
I'm 47. 47 years old. You know how I stayed alive this long? All these years? Fear. The spectacle of fearsome acts. Somebody steals from me, I cut off his hands. He offends me, I cut out his tongue. He rises against me, I cut off his head, stick it on a pike. Raise it high up so all in the streets can see. That's what preserves the order of things. Fear.
Is that the scene, or is that a later scene where he sings like, you know how I maintain my power? Grand displays of violence.
That's the same scene.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is a real, he's like giving you the answer key to his character. Like,
yeah.
This is what's going on with me.
Right.
Should we move along to It's an Art Bro? Where we talk about the aspects of the filmmaking process, sets, effects, costuming, music.
What's this?
It's an art project.
Okay, I like it. Picasso. Yeah, that way.
So this is some of the best stuff in the movie, I would say, is like the artistic style. I also had a lot of issues with like certain filming aspects. Number one, the costumes are great. Everything's dirty and disgusting, and people are dripped out at the same time. It's kind of an anomaly in itself. The music is also pretty good. It's nothing like, Goodfellas, like we talked about, is just so synonymous with the film itself, where it's just like, it's a character in itself. But with this, it's a lot more subtle. But I had some major issues with the editing in this movie. There were some weird fucking cuts, and I don't know if you noticed that at all, but there's just some weird editing choices that I found kind of jarring sometimes. Like there'd be some weird wipes, like almost George Lucas-esque kind of wipes on the screen, and like just I can't really think of the scene in particular, but it was just so jarring and so like why did they make that decision? I don't know, just certain little stuff that kind of came out to me. So.
I don't know if I've noticed anything major about the editing, but it's definitely, it feels like a movie that's too long, and also feels like it's a movie that has shrunken down certain portions of it.
Yeah.
To like fit under the 3-hour guideline or whatever they probably need, because this is a really long movie, and it feels like a movie that has, certain portions that maybe had more fleshed out to them, maybe in the script or maybe even filmed, that might have gotten sacrificed. I think particularly if this is, and I think this is a movie that Scorsese's talked about being a little more meddled with than anything he's made.
Yeah, you can really tell.
It feels like the Leo and Diaz stuff they want to keep in at all costs, whereas maybe some other stuff might have suffered at the cost of that, which is unfortunately the weakest part of the movie, because that stuff is neither charming nor fun nor romantic.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So that's the main thing I noticed from that. And other than the costuming and just the setting of everything, I do love they built a plaza. The 5 Points Plaza is a real place in New York that was famous for its poverty and being overrun by gangs, and they did recreate that little square. That 5 Point Square is like a central part of this whole movie.
Yeah.
That we see multiple times.
I thought the end scene where it kind of like did a time lapse of New York, the skyline, I thought that was pretty cool. Just because I find this time period fascinating. But it was just kind of cool to see like the evolution of New York and just like how desolate that time period was, because it was like early America. I mean, the country was in its infancy stage, and it's just very interesting. It was like, it's amazing, the human intuition, where it's like we can build and we can maintain while in the midst of chaos, and it's quite fascinating.
Yeah, and whether or not it's fully historically, no, but it does certainly evoke a feeling in a time period very successfully, with maybe only Leonardo DiCaprio accepting. Everybody else kind of just melts into this like mid-1800s land and is very believable.
Yeah.
Both in costume and in character and in dialect and in acting in that space.
I did love a lot of the scenes where they're in like the clubs or like the I know they spend a lot of time in like Chinatown and you have these giant like amphitheaters and like just hangout spots that people are in, and there's just like hundreds of people in these buildings. But I loved it because it was so filled with stuff, and it was like just so much detail was put into it, and I love that aspect. But it had this like movie feel to it that was like it's just like, you obviously this is a set, and it just kind of had that, I don't know. It's not cheap, but I don't really know how to describe it.
It feels theatrical, like the way the men all line up at the beginning. And he's like, "Is that the only armor you brought?" And he's like, "No, I got these boys." These boys. But also, it's funny. There's this reviewer for the BBC named Mark. There's this reviewer for the BBC named Mark Kermode, and he sometimes describes period pieces as wiggy, in the fact that they have lots of wigs and fake mustaches, and and I think just the costuming of it can't help but feel kind of theatrical in the theater sense,
right?
In the stagey sort of put on, doesn't feel grounded sense, just because it's so foreign to us, and how obvious it is that all this stuff is being plastered on
for sure
to people. I do like the way this movie kind of leans into it. I do like the way the men all line up at the beginning scene. I do like kind of how over the top and chaotic every like public place is.
Yeah.
And just absurd. And it does have this really like, for misgivings about certain performances and certain storylines aside, it does have a really great sense of like place and time that's kind of enrapturing, especially because it's not a period of time you see a lot. Like, you might see Civil War movies, but you don't see about the America of that time, particularly in like a New York City.
I was going to say, usually when it's set in America in this time period, it's a Western, or like it's like you were saying, like Civil War, or like even the slavery period.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of like East Coast stuff, or like where like the real colonizations began, like colonies began. So yeah, that's really fascinating. Or either that, or you see like Victorian London or something. But yeah, New York is a great setting for it, for sure.
Should we move on to, hey, what are you trying to say?
All right, I'll take that. So I have the suit, I have the shoes, maybe a nice hat with a nice ribbon or a bit of a handkerchief.
What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say? Oh, hey, I'm a guy who can wear a hat, huh? Oh, look at the tall freak. Probably can't fit a hat on that big, huge melon of his. Is that what you're saying? It's going to slip down over my head and down my little scrawny neck onto my shoulders, and I'll look like some cartoon character out of a Warner Brothers? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, actually, that's what I was.
Revenge is bad or
Is
good?
it? Well, I think this movie lands on revenge is fine.
Because you can ride off into the sunset with your boo after you just moidled a guy.
I mean, granted, a bad guy.
Yeah, he was no saint. That's for sure.
I don't know if this had anything interesting to say about revenge. I think it touches on religion. A lot of the first gang fight is about religious differences.
Yeah.
It is not about cultural or ethnic or anything like that. It is about the religious differences. So I think that's an interesting point at this time, and also that at this time everyone is so religious. Everyone is. Billy the Butcher speaks of God.
Yeah.
You know, it is a very Christian in that, like, early America, puritanical, Catholic, melting pot, like, time, but they are all still, given the genre they choose, they are all still, like, Christian religions.
Yeah. It's also, like, it's got that social human rights angle, where it's like, you were saying, it's like a melting pot. It's a powder keg. It's all of the above. It's just you put so many different types of people in one little borough, you're going to have strife.
There are multiple scenes of people just watching people come off the boats to America and being like, fuck you, go home.
One dude belted this woman with a rock, like, in the face. It was crazy. I was like, I'm sure that really happened, too.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
it's just like...
I'm sure it's real. That argument continues till today.
For sure.
And also, like, I guess that's mostly my point, is that it's nothing new. This is a recurring argument, and I think that's one of the things that is in the stuffing the ballot boxes, and there are many things that show up in this movie that I think, just watching it in a modern context and thinking about, like, our modern, maybe more polarized political landscape of today, if we're taking this anything close to face value as historical, like, which maybe you shouldn't, but it's certainly, like, what we think is crazy today, like, the things have been crazy.
Yeah.
And will continue to be crazy, and, like, we're probably not actually breaking new ground.
No.
As far as political...
I mean, you don't see, like, public lynchings anymore, so, I mean, I guess that's...
You don't see a man get hatcheted. Have you seen your mayor ever get hatcheted in the back?
No.
By a man on the street?
No.
Let's hope we don't.
But I have seen my president say, when the looting starts, the shooting starts.
I've seen my president go...
I've heard my president go... Yeah. I've heard my president go, we should put bleach in our bodies.
COVID's not real.
Fake news.
Fake news. The very fake woke media. They invented COVID along with the Chinese.
Shall we move on?
Let's let the hate flow through you.
Good. Use your aggressive feelings, boy. Let the hate flow through you.
I think we kind of got most of our hate out the way.
Yeah, all my notes are say Leo's accent, Leo in general.
It's too fucking long.
So long is my next one, and the goofy ass fight editing, which is did you crack up when in the final scene when all the fog is in the air when he keeps running past and slicing them?
Yeah.
I was like, what am I watching?
I'm sure that was cool in 2002. I don't think Scorsese has ever really been good at hand-to-hand combat, as you've seen in The Irishman.
He was trying something.
Yeah, we always make fun of that scene because it's so ridiculous looking. Usually Scorsese's violence is very quick. His violence is very quick. It's very precise, especially with the mob movies and stuff. But in this, it doesn't. They're going for a Lord of the Rings type of feel.
Yeah,
and it doesn't really work.
That's like a scene from
Braveheart.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Daniel Day-Lewis is, I guess, doing a little duck run, like where he's basically Naruto running towards Leonardo DiCaprio and slicing him with his knife as he goes past while running through the smoky fog.
That's not practical in any sense.
It just didn't seem like his whole deal. It also seemed antithetical to the character because Billy the Butcher's whole deal is I'm gonna fucking murder you and nobody's gonna care, and it's gonna be easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's throwing the axe at Brendan Gleeson's back. That's like cutting the man open in the middle of...
It's spectacle. Yeah.
Yeah, in the middle of the whole theater. That's not doing a little Naruto run and slicing him slightly, bit by bit. Like, what is that accomplishing for you? It just seems so wrong. It made me laugh.
The scene in the beginning, the big fight in the beginning, it reminded me of the Dark Knight Rises fight.
When all the police come out of the sewers?
Yeah, and none of their punches are connecting, and it just looks really bad. And because you get like an aerial shot of like all these people fighting, and you just see like it's all choreographed. It looks terrible. And that's another thing that kind of really took me out of that scene. I love the confrontation in the beginning, but the whole fight was just absolutely ridiculous and stupid. Yeah, he doesn't do fight scenes very well. This is a different type of film than he's made before.
But Ken, what about the big fight scene at the end of Killers of the Flower Moon? Do you remember that one?
What?
I'm joking with you because there's no end fight scene.
I believed you for a second.
It's all about Native Americans getting murdered off screen.
Yeah. This movie just didn't really do it for me. It was fine, and I think we've talked about there's some great sequences and some great scenes, a great performance by Daniel Day-Lewis. He's the reason to watch this, if there's any reason at all. This is Leonardo's probably weakest film I've ever seen him in. And I think he's a fine actor. I think he's really good when he has great material.
I feel like this was just peak fame, and he probably didn't even realize he was giving a poor effort in the moment, but I just feel like it was a poor effort.
Yeah.
Like, it was just not enough put in there.
But I think also we need to, he was still fairly young. I mean, wasn't too long after Titanic, and I think he was 16 in Titanic. You know what I mean? Like, he's had time to grow. I think his best performance ever is his performance as Monsieur Candy in Django, and then he was great in Wolf of Wall Street as well.
It's not the man that eats the liver in The Revenant.
Ironically, that's the movie he won his first Oscar for. He was fine in that, but
that's a movie that was important then and nobody cares about now.
No,
The Revenant.
No.
Remember?
I watched that recently. It's really good.
Remember Leonardo DiCaprio? He gets attacked by a bear,
and he opened up a horse like a tauntaun and slept inside.
Remember Tom Hardy, unintelligible yet again. I'm bad.
I just remember he kept saying something about pelts because he wanted pelts. Like, he wanted to sell his pelts. He was like, "I got all these fucking pelts." Yeah, it's a movie about pelts.
Kind of like hundreds of beavers.
There's also a movie about pelts.
That's a movie about pelts.
Yeah, Leonardo, not his best performance. I don't knock him for it. He's still a great actor in my book. I usually like him in most things I see.
Fuck Leonardo DiCaprio, he's trash.
I think he's his
I
best.
wipe my ass with his movie.
I think he's his best when he yells and he's manic.
Yeah.
He's really great at that. He's really great at it.
I mean, I'm not fucking leaving. That's a great one. And a Martin Scorsese movie that we're not doing.
Yes.
Maybe. Okay. Let's do our final question. Is this a Perk movie?
You lost a baby brother. Perfect in every way.
I had a baby brother. I had a little baby brother. And he was perfect. Perfect in every way.
No.
Nar.
I gave it like 3.5 out of 5 stars.
I think
3-ish.
I think, yeah, 3.5. I think that's pretty comfortable.
It's a spectacle. It's cool. It's not a masterclass.
It made me very interested in that time period. Like, I kind of want to watch some YouTube videos, kind of trying to unravel it a little bit.
It made me want to watch more Daniel Day-Lewis.
Absolutely. I think I haven't been as I'm not up to date with all his films. I think
he's kind of retired now.
Yeah, I mean, before I'm not totally I don't know everything he's in. There Will Be Blood is one of the best movies I've ever seen, and he was fantastic in that. So,
all right, it's not on the list. And we said a lot of ill things about Leonardo DiCaprio, but guess what's up next time?
Another Leonardo DiCaprio film?
It's another one. Hey, it's the 2010s. What Martin Scorsese movie do you want to do? Hey, do you want to do The Wolf of Wall Street? Wait.
I mean,
Wait. Never mind. Just don't listen to me.
We're still in the 2000s.
I think we did this math wrong.
Yeah, because this is... Wait, no. Okay, so we're trying to do Shutter Island.
Is that 2013?
No. Nope. Wolf of Wall Street is 2013. Shutter Island is either 2010 or 2011. I could be wrong. Hold on. Let's do some...
Shutter Island is 2010. And Silence is like 2014.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Whatever.
The mids, yeah.
Okay, so Shutter Island is what we're doing up next. 2010. You know, this movie kind of got bashed when it came out, Shutter Island.
It did, yeah.
Not a well-reviewed Scorsese movie in the grand scheme.
From what I remember, it was pretty good. There's a great plot and a great twist.
I've watched it semi-recently. I like it a lot. Leonardo DiCaprio. It's more in his lane. He's older.
He's more seasoned.
He's
ran through the groupies.
He's still dating 23-year-olds. Wait, is it 2025 or is it 2010 when Shutter Island was released? I don't know, because he's still dating 20...
Well, they weren't 23 when he was 23. Or how old is he? He's like got to be almost 50.
Old.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm saying 2010 Leonardo, he had to be dating younger. I'm thinking like a nice 19.
We'll look at the tape. We'll check back.
All right. Well, until next time. If you haven't watched Gangs of New York, would you recommend?
I would say fans of the genre, if you want to watch a historical tale or a gang tale or a great performance, singular performance at the risk of not a spectacular movie, go for it.
Just make sure you got some time to spare, I would say.
It is also almost 3 hours, so that is one downside of the movie. Although, honestly, if you just fast-forwarded every time Leo and Cameron Diaz are together on screen, you could probably cut this down to like 2:10 and see all the cool stuff.
Also, I feel like we recommend most movies we watch. If you want to watch it, fucking watch it. You know what I'm saying?
It's on Max. It's easy to find.
Yeah.
Shutter Island next week. After that...
It's up in the air. I think we're thinking.
We'll see how we
Silence.
feel.
Yeah,
we're doing Silence, which is depressing and about religion, or we might do Wolf of Wall Street if you want to be more fun.
Yeah. Or The Irishman, or
not doing The Irishman.
I guess it would be too much in the same vein as Goodfellas. So yeah.
The Irishman is just 4 hours long, and that's just it.
I love The Irishman.
The Irishman is good. I just haven't seen Wolf recently, so I would go back to it.
That also might be a lot of fun to talk about, too. So we'll see.
Maybe
we'll do a double feature.
But what about Andrew Garfield being sad about Catholicism?
Are you talking about The Amazing Spider-Man 2?
You know it! Starring Paul Giamatti as the Rhino.
Oh, he was in that movie.
Remember when Gwen Stacy went thwack? They broke her spine.
Remember when the little web turned into a hand?
I forgot about that. Did we see that in the theaters together?
I think so.
That's so funny. I forgot about that. Oh shit. That's a real thing that happened in a movie, and a bunch of people said, "Yo, that's a good idea. Do that." Turn the web into a hand like it's reaching for her because it wants to save her so much.
That movie was so bad that Emma Stone was just like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna be nude and everything."
We're gonna go to La La Land.
All right, see ya.
Ryan Gosling, dance with me by this park bench. I'm Emma Stone.
Mark Ruffalo, take off my clothes.
You know, Andrew Garfield went on to play a never mind. We're cutting this.